A privilege to be amidst pioneers and experts from the steel industry. I thank the organizers as well as the partners who were involved in hosting this event. We as a practice, like he introduced, we believe that architecture is about people. It's about making places and spaces for people. And these are places I consider personally as something that is optimistic. It gives joy to the people who occupy it. So it is in this light that I would like to kind of take you through some of the works that kind of reflect the ideologies of the practice. And today we kind of deal with many kinds of materials. Most of them, many of them, in fact, we are identified by their performance identities versus the origins. When I say origins, it is basically materials like steel, wood, then brick, stone. We understand where they come from, but materials like light-emitting concrete, touchscreens, or biodegradable plastics, we do not understand the origins, and so we deal with these kind of things. But I feel the core is always revolving around this primary materials like steel. So I'm here to talk about steel, and I consider steel as a very critical thing because it has spawned our industrial revolution, as well as it's a material of modernity in some sense. So it is reflective of the Western ethos in terms of construction. Somehow steel has never been kind of the material in our country, in our context, for various reasons. Even today when you kind of Google what steel is, you would get a basic set of images which are primarily industrial and temporal structures. It's only in the last 3-4 years you would have seen a kind of an increase in the way structural steel is used, and more creatively in that sense. But for us, we've been kind of engaged with the idea of steel right from our first project, and I consider these things in the an idea of where conventional building practices are kind of induced with this creative acupuncture-like measures with the use of steel, where it reveals possibilities. The new ways of looking at things, which kind of reflects the conditions we live in. So just quickly running through, this is one of our first projects where we've just looked at a cantilevered steel deck against the masonry, heaviness of the masonry, where it is suspended totally using steel. Like everything was designed here in terms of this. I'm talking about sometime in 1996. Which is way back when steel was really, really not acceptable in the housing realm, in the villas and things like that. People considered it as a very temporal material. So psychologically speaking, that is. So here we kind of designed it like a suspended structure. And in another project, these were very small projects, but a large component of it was steel. Here, this was done during a time when you had this curtain walling systems or structural glazing systems which were prevalent in some way, and this being the north wall, we wanted to kind of get this light into this very narrow kind of a building which was around 30 by 70 kind of a plot. So this entire thing, the client couldn't afford the structural glazing at that point in time, so we engineered the structural glazing using wire mesh glass and steel as a material, and even the staircase that you see is now the sculptural element which kind of engages the corner along which it is placed. See, the other project that I want to talk about is like on the suburban edges of the city. You have opportunities to engage outwardly, into the landscape and things like that. So here, I call this as the House of Pavilions because it's about pavilions exploring the landscape. Various components of the program kind of engages with the landscape. And what we wanted to bring to the table here was the idea of lightness, the temporality that kind of persists in our kind of context. So this is a project where you see those steel columns there kind of elevating that one of the pavilions, which became the sun's domain on the top. And you have these roofs also kind of being detached. And this is not possible in any other material. You kind of get this clear story using structural steel, you kind of start looking into the sky and the greenery that is kind of a part of our suburbs, like this, gated communities which offers these kind of lifestyles. So this kind of opening up at various places, bringing in an element of lightness was critical to the expression here as a pavilion. And even the carporch is kind of done in a lyrical sense. It's not just a kind of a porch. Or you can see the steel columns. What it enables, it brings in absolute lightness. The idea of a floating kind of a box on top. The release from the even the roof, final roof there. The staircase as well, it's just again steel and wood suspended from the floor slab above. So our interest has been about engaging between inside and the outside. So this project is a typical example of that kind of a thing. Now the other kind of usage of steel that I would like to talk about is it forms the backbone of an expression, of an idea. Here you see, what you see is terracotta tiles, but they're all suspended from a steel structure, and this enables us to create kind of dynamic kind of a horizontal surface as well as a vertical surface where we can actually move these tiles. So it is kind of a detail that was engineered in the office, which uses steel as the backbone, as of the expression. And this is a management institute that we have done in Mysore. And this kind of emerges from the idea of what you encounter when you drive to Mysore, the rolling terrains and the rock outcrops and things like that. So the building is kind of imagined as one of the outcrops. But they had a private side to the idea of program, and they had a very public side. The public side was like an executive seminar room. So we wanted a level of transparency for that. So the idea of the transparent space was using this V-braced kind of structure which supports the roof and allows for the transparency to happen. And even the previous slide, this is the tallest structure which with the skylight on top is basically the library, where you have a steel framework and concrete and masonry is embedded into that, and this skylight forms an integral part of that structure. So steel is kind of combined in a way that kind of allows for these expressions to happen. And moving on to another project, this is a smallish kind of insertion into a large educational institution campus. So they wanted a student hub to be created. So the student hub basically consisted of the canteen block and some play facilities. So they wanted this to be the center of the campus as well in some way, which engaged with the outdoor spaces. So they had this large field on one side, and they had this play facilities on the other side. So the building kind of sits mediating these two areas. So it was basically seen as a set of platforms. You looked at it as a series of platforms which engages both the sides like that. So you had various ways to access it. But the idea was to kind of create the sheltered kind of a space where people could be there present all the time. The idea of the shelter here kind of took the core idea in terms of what the building expression would be like. It was a pavilion-like structure, and you had this steel tapestry, in what I would say in a lyrical sense. So you had this very delicate kind of a system that holds this large span of 145 feet, almost 45 to 50 meters of span. So, and even working with very good engineers who have been a part of the collaboration, like he mentioned earlier, we consider this as a teamwork. So the kind of trusses that you see are also kind of engaging with the idea of form, which is a performative basically in terms of water, in terms of temperature, in terms of the span. So the idea of varying depths and varying dimensions in terms of the plan itself of these trusses, and the way they get laced. So it's a very delicate thing. We are looking at something like 3-inch diameter pipes, which form those triangular trusses. So it is clearly expressing the strength to weight ratio when you use steel here. The high strength capability of such large span thing in a modest kind of a circumstance, not like the fancy airport that we saw now. But this is done using very modest means, using local fabricators to engage and create this kind of a thing. So the roof becomes an iconic kind of a form now, which kind of identifies the institution in some sense, and this has become the most active space in the institute itself. So you can see very nominal, very minimal kind of an engagement. The materials are all very basic here, including the steel roofing system as well. And the idea of the roof itself is kind of akin to this, the tree-like quality, the light emerging through the leaves. So we looked at the truss and the light engaging through the truss and creating the shadows, and it creates this diffuse kind of light on the floor below, where they can use it as a playing facility. And it was complex in terms of engaging two levels of roofs as well. And moving on to another project, which is basically one of our initial initiations into the idea of steel as a building material. Like we looked at a competition project. We were shortlisted in the competition. The premise was that you had to build in a place called Sherpovets, which is in Russia, and it has this varying temperature ranging from nearly -40 to +34 kind of a variation. So it is extreme conditions in some way, and building conditions are quite difficult, because 6 months of the year you can't really build, you can't mobilize anything there in the open because it's covered in snow. And here the idea was to look at steel as a very sustainable kind of a material. So we kind of looked at how the Russians live, like they have literally two lives, one within the city in the houses they live in, and the other one being this, what they call as dachas, like, which is like an outdoor, like a weekend getaway kind of a place where most of them own these two kind of things. So our idea was to kind of look at this dacha as a model, because city you don't have a kind of a precedent, for a thing like this. And we were given around 12,000 square feet of land, where we were asked to build a 150 square meter kind of a structure. So here, when you're dealing in cold countries, we look at the surface to volume ratio, because you want to minimize the exposure to the extreme conditions. So we looked at kind of halving that footprint that you saw earlier of 150 square meters, and kind of looking at it as two levels. And we divided it into a kind of a service component and a more living side component. So the blue one is basically the services. When I say services, it encompasses the toilets, the staircases, utility areas. So, and optimizing it to generate another space. And we looked at how to engage, because here in a climate like this, up north, when you are north of the equator, you usually hear the premises that the north light is good, but here it's the other way around. They look at south for light and north as this kind of extreme condition, extreme edge, because you have the cold winds from the north coming in here. So you had to deal with that kind of extremity. So the services are placed towards the south side, north side, and the south side is detailed out to kind of create the solariums, which kind of absorb the heat, retain the heat during winters, and release the heat during the summers as an open thing, which they can engage with the landscape. So it was about how to, because heating is a large requirement here. So, and also their own systems, they have this modular way of constructing things here in this Russian culture, where children play with this thing called a steromok, where they kind of add components and build structures up. So we were thinking, why can't we look at steel like that, using it as enabling a very modular, off-site kind of a construction possibility as well. So we thought the service block could be the primary kind of one of the important thing which gets done totally off-site modular, and it can be erected on-site on the conditions. And we looked at the next thing being the space itself, the living spaces centered around the kitchen area, because Russian culture is all around the kitchen. Kitchen becomes the center in some sense. And the tertiary components being the solariums, then the solar heat gathering mechanisms, the roofs, the wall systems that kind of panel up this entire thing into a space. So you have this, we developed that system. So you get this totally, prefabricated way of construction off-site and engineered and developed so that you can execute it really fast on the site. You have 6 months to erect maybe a large part of the housing facility. So the blue being marked as the primary thing, and then you have the secondary and then the tertiary components coming together. So basically the planning thing, and the angular forms that you see and all are that to increase the exposure to the south. So like I spoke, that the kitchen becomes the center, so it kind of integrates the house. The construction using very nominal kind of a steel structure. So it is kind of a slotted in kind of a detailing. And insulation is a critical component in this sort of building thing, where we looked at totally insulated components using styrofoam as one of the insulating materials as well. And every detail was engineered kind of thinking, because this was alien to us. We have never kind of detailed a steel structure so extensively. So every single component, where the lower level has the heating conduits running through the floor in the foundation, which is basically concrete, on which this structure is erected. Lot of use of galvalume sections as well. So we ended up with some kind of a structure that kind of engages and creates flexibilities to do other kind of structures based on this modularity. And moving on to the next project, which is basically, this is one of the things that we took pride in doing within the city, because this is a beautiful site. This is on the suburbs again, near the Electronic City, where we have this totally wooded area covered in mahogany trees. We had 2,000 trees actually in the site, and the client wanted to develop it as a housing project. So how do you deal with such extensive vegetated kind of a site, extensively vegetated kind of a site? Because conventional construction technology of inhabiting a site with so many trees is not possible at all. You can't really, because the trees in themselves, that is the site basically. So this is the trees that are present here, so packed like that there, and we had a small open space that on the other side. So these are the mahogany trees, and they were all lined up in a grid, because this was based on it was planted for timber basically, harvesting timber. But when the client took over this project, he felt that it is important to retain the trees, and we felt, and that is one of the reasons why we took up this project as well, because it was challenging to engage with this kind of a condition. So with so many trees present, and the mahogany, the nature of mahogany itself, it grows to around 75 to 80 feet. And it has a taproot system that goes equally lower, and it doesn't have a wide root structure, like it doesn't spread out. It has a small crown as well on the top. So we had very straight trunks, and you had this very small crowning on the top, as well as the root structure beneath. So there is a possibility of inhabiting in that sense, that they were spaced around 15 feet center to center. So we were looking at how to occupy that thing. So initial ideas of occupation with all those trees, you had this, the 4.5 meters, the grid of the tree, and we ended up with 3 meters, 3 meters of space, which we felt might not be the real way to do it. So we then looked at, actually housing one of the trees within the property itself, within the house itself. So it could be a part of the house, or it could be outside the house as well. And even in terms of structure, it had to be light because it shouldn't be going very deep to damage the root systems. And it had to have terraces where it could engage with the tops, the tree canopies. And this is a project where I think the trees would continue to grow as we build. So, and also enabling managing these conditions on site as to how would you do it. It had to be modular and off-site kind of prefabricated kind of a system as well. So this is the kind of density you would achieve, and this is important because from the builder's perspective as well, to kind of get the maximum out of the land while retaining the identity of the place was a concern for us. So this is like what you would see from the top, totally covered in green. This house, the plans are based on that grid. It has around 4 to 5 trees within the house itself, and the rest of the around 8 to 9 trees are outside. So each of the property covers around 15 trees, 15 to 16 trees. So the lower and the upper level. So the construction system is perhaps more interesting because we had to look at foundation systems which are keeping in mind the network of the housing as well as the root structure beneath. So we looked at this a diagonal grid which kind of enables us to cover a larger set of trees for the trenching. The trench itself is done around, so you can see that thing there. And the trenching also becomes the structure, the foundation for the superstructure. So we have the plinth beams which run at a diagonal on the top, on which you have the steel columns being placed. So the steel, that's the plinth beam structure. This is the plinth beam and the context of trees. Then you have the steel columns being erected, the floor slabs kind of being put in there against all welded construction of beam and columns. Then the floor system, so you have that. So you end up with that, you have this kind of very interesting kind of engagement with the landscape. So this is the current stage of the construction, where you have trees going in through that and managed very nominally. And the rest of the attachments comes as a ensemble of panels, where everything is prefabricated and assembled on site. Very minimal concreting, only for maybe the screed concreting that is required over the floor decking slabs. So we end up with this kind of a thing on the thing where we are anticipating it would turn out like that. Both sides where tree and living becomes synonymous. And if any of you are in Koramangala, please, you're all welcome to our office. This is our structure on top. It's a cafeteria we have on top of our office. And you can see that as our structural engineer, most of our works are all collaborative. A lot of the credit for many of the projects goes to our good friend and structural engineer Manjunath, who's designed this. He says it's like a weaving kind of a structure where you have components sliding through, this structural steel elements. And even the facade of our office is using waste from the industry, where you have the green and our interest of blending the building with nature in some way, or engaging with nature. becoming integral to the expression. So with that, I'd like to thank you all.